They sold my land while I was overseas serving my country. Yeah, you heard that right. While I was deployed with no way to respond, my HOA, the very people who were supposed to protect our neighborhood, decided my property was abandoned and quietly auctioned it off without my knowledge. No notice, no chance to fight it. Just gone. One day I'm getting care packages in the desert. The next I'm hearing that someone else is living on land I still legally owned. And that's just the beginning. I'm not the kind of guy to roll over. I fought for my country, and I sure as hell was going to fight for my home. What the HOA didn't realize was that I had friends in places that could make things very uncomfortable for them. The kind of friends who handle logistics and land records. So I dug into the paperwork. Turns out the HOA made some serious mistakes, and I had proof. Let's just say when the military gets involved in a property dispute, people start paying attention. What started as one man's fight to reclaim stolen land turned into something much bigger. By the time it was over, the entire subdivision was on the line. And guess who ended up holding the keys? Stick around because what happened next shocked even me, and I lived through it. This story isn't just about revenge. It's about justice, accountability, and what happens when you push the wrong person too far. Before I got deployed, I had bought that piece of land fair and square. It wasn't much, just a quiet corner lot where I planned to build after I got back. I'd been paying the fees, staying in touch when I could, but being stationed overseas doesn't exactly give you great access to email or mail. The HOA knew I was active duty. I even filed the paperwork so they'd leave the property alone while I was away. Still, somehow they marked it as abandoned and held a private sale. No warning. No phone call. Not even a certified letter. When I came back and found out, I honestly thought it was some kind of mistake. But the deeper I looked, the more shady things started to feel. The buyer, a friend of one of the HOA board members. The sale, rushed through in under 30 days. The paperwork, sloppy at best. I was furious, but more than that, I was confused. Why would they go this far? Why take advantage of someone who was serving overseas? So I started asking questions, and people started getting nervous. Emails went unanswered. Meeting notes vanished. Then one day, a neighbor quietly slipped me copies of some internal documents. Let's just say, what I found made it clear this wasn't just about my land. The HOA had been playing a much bigger game, and I wasn't the only one they'd burned. But unlike the others, I had something they didn't. Backup. And I wasn't done yet. The more I dug, the uglier it got. Turns out, this wasn't the first time the HOA had pulled something like this. I started hearing from other homeowners, quiet folks, some elderly, some out of state, who'd also lost property under sketchy circumstances. Same playbook every time. Late fees magically showed up, notices conveniently lost, and properties sold fast, always to someone with a link to the HOA board. It wasn't just negligence, it looked like a pattern. One guy, a retired vet like me, lost his backyard shed and a portion of his lot line because of a boundary correction the HOA claimed was for drainage. Another woman had her rental home seized while she was in the hospital. She never got a hearing. No one did. I realized they were targeting people who couldn't fight back or didn't know how. But I could fight, and I wasn't alone anymore. Meanwhile, I started getting pressure from people on the board. Not directly, of course. It started with fines, then anonymous complaints. Then someone keyed my truck. It was all too convenient. A friend on base helped me trace some of the HOA legal filings. They'd been signing off on internal transfers and reclassifying parcels under obscure bylaws. The language was buried deep, but I knew what I was reading. Fraud, And the HOA president, he was listed on several LLCs that were snapping up the abandoned homes. Still, I had to be careful. One wrong move, and they'd bury this. But I wasn't just planning to take back my land. I was about to flip their whole game upside down. I knew I couldn't take them down the usual way. They had lawyers, influence, and a cozy relationship with the local county office. But what they didn't have was someone who knew how to outmaneuver them using their own system. I pulled every document I could find, deeds, zoning maps, HOA bylaws, and started building a timeline. Every shady deal, every rushed foreclosure, every connection between board members and those suspicious LLCs. I kept everything backed up and quiet. I wasn't ready to make a move just yet, but I needed them to keep thinking I was just some angry vet barking up the wrong tree. Then I got a call from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. A fellow officer from my last deployment who now worked in military logistics and real estate coordination. When I explained what was happening, he told me something that changed everything. Turns out the HOA hadn't just stolen my land. They had sold off parcels that were still listed under military protections due to my active duty status. That meant federal law might have been broken. That opened a door I didn't even know existed. From that point on, things started accelerating fast. Quiet inquiries were made. A couple of flags were raised in the system. Then came the day I saw it. A notice posted outside the HOA clubhouse. A routine audit was being initiated. No one knew where it came from. The board was scrambling, holding emergency meetings, calling in lawyers. They still didn't know I was behind it. Not yet, but they were about to find out. Just when I thought I had the upper hand, the HOA made a bold move that nearly blew everything. Out of nowhere, they filed a counterclaim against me, accusing me of defamation and harassment. Their lawyer sent a thick packet filled with half-truths, edited emails, and a statement claiming I was trying to undermine a lawful homeowners association through intimidation and false allegations. It was a cheap shot, but it meant one thing. They knew I was closing in. That should have rattled me. Instead, it confirmed I was hitting nerves. But it also meant I had to act faster. I couldn't let them paint me as the villain in a story where they were the ones stealing property and hiding behind fine print. The timing couldn't have been worse, because right then, one of the residents I'd been working with, a quiet school teacher who had lost her home under the same shady process, called me in tears. She'd just received a notice that she was being evicted from her new apartment because the HOA had challenged the lease through their own legal channels. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about land anymore. It was about control. The board wasn't just taking property, they were silencing anyone who stood up. And they were willing to hurt innocent people to do it. But here's the twist they didn't see coming. The military didn't just start reviewing the original land transaction. They began investigating the entire subdivision . And what they found, it changed everything. I just had to hold on a little longer. The audit wasn't just a scare tactic, it was real. Within weeks, federal investigators were on the ground. They weren't just looking at my property anymore. They started pulling all the HOA's records, past and present. What they uncovered shocked even me. Misfiled deeds, forged signatures, backdoor deals with shell companies owned by board members, and worst of all, multiple violations of the Service Members Civil Relief Act, laws meant to protect people like me who were deployed and unable to defend their assets back home. The board tried to play it cool at first, acting like it was all just a misunderstanding, but once subpoenas started dropping, people cracked fast. One of the board members flipped and handed over internal emails, ones that proved they knew what they were doing was wrong. They'd even joked about how hard it would be for someone stationed overseas to fight back. That was the moment things turned. My land was officially restored, along with the properties of several other victims. But it didn't stop there. The military filed a formal complaint, and the subdivision was temporarily placed under federal review. That's right, the same HOA that had stolen from veterans and seniors was now being overseen by the same system they thought they could cheat. And just when I thought it was over, the final twist dropped. Turns out, the company that had been buying up all those properties, it had ties to a regional developer with plans to tear down the neighborhood and build luxury townhomes. The HOA was just the middleman, but not anymore. Now the community knows the truth, and we're not going anywhere. After everything came to light, the entire neighborhood came together in a way I'd never seen before. People who barely spoke to each other started comparing stories, reviewing documents, and standing up for their rights. The corrupt HOA board resigned one by one, and a new transparent leadership was voted in, made up of actual residents, not developers or investors. My land was returned with a formal apology, but more importantly, so was everyone else's who had been wronged. The woman who'd lost her home during her hospital stay, she got it back along with compensation. The retired vet whose property line was tampered with had his case reopened, and the schoolteacher. Her eviction was reversed, and she's now one of the new HOA board members, making sure no one else goes through what we did.